Cool. Cool. Alright. Let's get everything rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Truth Podcast. My name is Neek Robinson. I'm the host of this show, of this podcast. And we're back with another solo episode today. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today, another topic that I wanted to talk about is something that, I've been trying to apply to my life the past probably, I want to say probably like 6 months, maybe to a year. And this is something that, is always kind of hard to do. But, it's something that I feel like needs to be done, especially with the things that I'm doing currently. But I think that this topic that I wanted to bring up today is basically like, executing your plans before you actually are talking about them or building the hype around them and all this type of stuff. I feel like a lot of people in society, they overhype everything. They're always talking like, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, before it actually comes into fruition. And I think that, putting it out there into the universe is super dope. It's a super dope thing, and I think that it needs to be done. However, I also do believe that, you need to almost get your ducks in a row in a sense before you start building hype and, getting people bought into these ideas that you have. Because, like you guys know, I have a lot of different ideas that go on throughout my head literally every day and every moment of my life. But, sometimes it does take a lot for me to, kind of stay off social media and everything and like don't really talk about the things that I'm trying to pursue until I've pursued them and the final product is there. It's something that it's definitely taken me a while to kind of figure that out, but I think that like with this podcast, basically like I had the idea way back, like probably it's been almost, I want to say about like a year and a half, give or take, that I wanted to do a podcast. And like if you guys would scroll, if you guys are watching on YouTube, I have a bunch of different like old videos that basically I was kind of doing along the lines of the same thing. I was just looking at those oddly enough like a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of weird because I've basically been doing what I'm doing now. It's just I didn't call it a podcast and I wasn't too sure what a podcast actually was in a sense. But I kind of just created it into my own thing. But basically like, I wanted to start a podcast and I wasn't too sure exactly how to do it. And I was just kind of feeling the vibes and going through the motions and everything, and just watching a lot of different podcasts or listening to a lot of different ones, and just finding my own specific style. And I think that I wanted to announce it so many different times that, I'm starting a podcast, yada, yada, but I wasn't too sure how to do it. And I think that once I just started the podcast officially back in, I want to say like October, I think it was like October 21st of 2018. So about 7 months ago now, that's when I officially, released my first episode. I didn't build hype around it or anything. I just released it and then I just promoted it. And ever since then, it's just kind of took off into what it is now, So I want to thank everybody for, tuning into the podcast and all that stuff. But, I think that there's a lesson that I've learned a lot from that. And, prior to that, and it was kind of hard for me not to announce what I was doing before it actually happened. I think that now I've kind of wanted to be more calculated in my moves and everything, and not necessarily talk about them until they actually happen. And I think that that's something that, it kind of gives the people that are tuning into my things, or are watching the things that I'm putting out into the universe, that I'm executing the things that I'm telling them, but I've already done the work in the background and the behind the scenes work for it. So that's something that I would advise if you guys are, especially like the creatives out there, like if you guys are having all these ideas, just to take a step back for a second, write literally everything down that is strolling through your head and going through your mind, and just figure out how you could realistically make this dream or this idea kind of come to life in a sense, instead of saying like on Twitter, like, I have this idea to make this, that, and the third, yada yada, or like talking to a bunch of your friends about it or whatever the case is. Instead just kind of just make it happen first, and then build the hype after that. I think that getting people bought into a vision of something when they actually can see this physical and end product, I think that there's something that can be said about that, versus like trying to get somebody bought into the idea of something, and not having the physical proof of it, can be a little hard for some people that just can't understand what you are trying to portray and what you are trying to put out into the world. So actually having the physical product, or the physical idea like written out or whatever, like in detail, I think it's something that's super important for everybody to do out there in the world. And if you guys need help with any of your ideas, definitely hit my line. I would love to talk to you, because I think that it's good to like get your ideas out into the universe, and like you always want to tell somebody, but I think that it's good for you to kind of just keep it suppressed for a little bit, and then just kind of figure it out on your own and write everything down, make the decisions, and the I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I think that like you just need to figure out all the nitty-gritty details to kind of get this plan kind of going and rolling, and then you'll figure it out as you kind of go along. I feel like a lot of the things that I've been doing, especially like with my podcast, it's like a lot of trial and error things. So and like with my clothing line too, with 2220 Vision, it was kind of like, I just wanted to create something, and it's been just a lot of trial and error ever since then. But I'm happy with the things that I'm doing now, and I could have built the hype and said that I was going to do it, but then not released anything, or not just not come through with the plans. Like on my last episode of the podcast, I was talking about how I wanted to build a coffee company. That was something that was very prominent in my life at I think about this time last summer. I really wanted to dive into the creating a coffee company and stuff, and I don't really tell a lot of people that, because it was something that I was very focused on, but I had a lot of different things going on in my mind at the time, and I think that I wanted to get this podcast off the ground first. That was like one of my number one priorities. But I have it all written down just in a notebook that I use like every day. So I think that having these ideas just written down in a physical form is something that it kind of allows your brain to kind of go back to, like if you ever are forgetting it, because like the coffee thing is kind of like something that I know that one day I'll probably pursue it. Just right now the timing isn't right, and I got other things that I want to conquer before I dive into that, because I think that there is a huge market for like the coffee company thing, and if you guys want to go ahead and take my idea, more power to you. But I have like a lot of the things that I want to execute just written down, and I like to just kind of keep those to myself. And when the time comes, and if I meet like the correct person to kind of network with or whatever the case is, then that'll be the time that I kind of execute those other plans that I have kind of written down. So that's just something that I've kind of learned along the way. Wanted to kind of share this to the world, kind of just give you guys that emotional backing that you guys are not alone in all these ideas that kind of bounce throughout your brain on the daily basis. I'm not too sure if this is just me, but I know that a lot of my friends that I talk to also have like very ambitious ideas and they're not too sure how to execute them. So, I kind of wanted to just make this podcast for that. But that's kind of it for this episode, everybody. I want to thank you guys for tuning in for another episode as well. I've been kind of thinking about what I'm wanting to do with the podcast. I kind of want to start releasing multiple episodes in a week, some that I've been kind of thinking about. So let me know if you guys would be interested in that. I know that I like how the setup is right now, and I kind of don't want to oversaturate it in a sense. So I think that you doing it every Monday is kind of cool right now. So, but I do also want to kind of just put out more podcasts and everything. I'm not too sure what I'm exactly going to do yet. I'm thinking about maybe just doing just videos and then posting them on the podcast platform, yada yada. So but let me know if you guys would be interested in that. I would love to get some feedback from you guys. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today's episode. I'll see you guys next week, next Monday, for a brand new guest episode, so stay on the lookout for that. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today's episode. My name is Neek Robinson. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, stay blessed, stay peaceful, stay all that, choose love, all that crazy stuff.